Hey Bayek, it's me Ian, and in today's video we're going to look at this. This is And Soon the Darkness from 1970. It's a British-made thriller horror film. Now, when I use the word horror, I suspect at the time we perhaps wouldn't have classed it as so much in that area, but now it's seen having that horror element, because horror is such a wide term now, and it has lots of the trappings that we'd expect from that. And this is it's just I'm just absolutely loving this film, really. And before I get into it, I'd just like to thank Phil. Phil, he sent me this film, and it's just amazing. Thank you so much for sending me it. I have heard about this film before, and then, for you to actually send it to me, and it's just great. So thank you so much, Phil. So let me get into this film. It's 94 minutes long. It's not very long. You sort of average time. If you look on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got 29%, which is really terribly bad. It's just, it's really quite low, and I can't understand why. I am shocked why. But then I look, there's a certain modern sensibility almost nowadays that, because a film has atmosphere, because a film just is into the building up of the story, it's not going quick enough. It's a bit boring. They've got no time for a proper film that shows atmosphere and is about building that kind of story together. And then it doesn't surprise me. And some of the critics obviously fell into the trap, didn't understand that. I can see at the time this is a new, well, not new, but it's not a major mainstream development in terms of horror. It's not gothic. It's not supernatural. It continues that Hitchcock tradition of the thriller, but having that element of what we today would see as horror. I think that's why there's that sort of establishment sneering at this kind of film. And that's maybe why it perhaps got overlooked, it has done. But fortunately, history now is so important that we look at these films and see how important they were and the contributions they make. I know I'm going to get on my soapbox, but, so many people don't seem to understand or look at the history of films to understand where we are and why I get personally. Maybe it's just me, but I love that's part of the enjoyment for me, seeing all this history and how wonderful these films are, and they need to be shouted about more. Yes, I know. This is why I love this whole thing about discovering these films. Anyhow, before I start going and preaching too much, this is written by Brian Clemens and Terry Nation. Terry Nation, wow. Yes, Daleks, Doctor Who. But Brian Clemens is such an interesting writer and influence over production. He is Mr. Avengers, the Avengers. Yes, the Avengers, not this Marvel stuff. The proper stuff, as we say, from 1960s. And it was under his direction that the Avengers really got stretching its imagination and wonderful things they did. And of course, he carried on into in terms of TV with the Thriller series, which was a massive series of these I think about 1 hour productions that were on ITV. They wouldn't have been 1 hour. They would have been within that 1 hour format, but they were fantastic. They were sort of low production costs for a TV company, but were brilliant writers and actors they brought in. And that's a great TV. And of course, then I mentioned The Professionals, which is back into kind of more the sort of spy action thriller genre as well, which is where the Avengers originally started from. So there we are. But he's a great influence on British TV. Anyway, the important thing to say about this, that this was the first movie under Brian Forbes at EMI Elstree. And part of that was that the whole team involved in this were from making The Avengers. The Avengers had just finished, and they were here, and they were put together to make this film. And fantastic. It's just, I'm just sit there just looking at this film and think, wow, this is so good. And there's so much involved here. It's incredible. Let's look at the cast. Now, the cast, wow. Let's have a look. Pamela Franklin, she plays Jane. You're going, who's Pamela Franklin? Well, Pamela Franklin was perhaps on the real rise here in a career which had developed. She had won a lot of acclaim over Prime of Miss Jean Brodie from 1969, and this, she's really taking a lead in this film. She went on, had a bit of a sort of horror thing with Necromancy 1972 and The Legend of Hell House 1973. And this is the other thing, they weren't models, they had acting career. These are the two leads, which is, as I say, Pamela Franklin, and the other one is Michelle Doutrice. She plays Kathy. She as well has another acting background. She's not a model. A lot of them often were models and then went into acting of this sort of period in British cinema. These are from acting background. All I'd say is The Witches 1966. She's in that. Fantastic. That's an early role. And then, of course, I think in terms of horror, people look at The Blood on Satan's Claw, 1970, and that is just seen as an important role for her. But ironically, her real fame came in a TV series. She played Betty. Yes, I know, I always do that when you say Betty. In Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, which was a massive BBC TV series starring Michael Crawford. But that was her major claim to fame. Then we've got Sandor Ellis playing Paul. Now, I looked at a couple of films that he'd done. He was a Hungarian background as an actor. He's The Evil of Frankenstein, 1964. He's in that. He's in Countess Dracula. Yes, the wonderful Countess Dracula is in that. I'll put that in. Appeared in a lot of TV stuff as well. Then we've got, again, another more TV-based actor, John Nettleton. He plays the gendarme, another important part of this film. And he has a real TV career in Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. Brilliant TV shows of late 70s, I think, 80s. Brilliant shows. And and if you like a little hammer thing, the star of those shows was Paul Eddington, who of course is in The Devil Rides Out, 1968. Just a nice little link. I like my links. Hey, Bayek. I do. Yes. Right. So what is the film about? What is the basic premise of the story? It's really two girls. They're on holiday. Now, this is the area when people are going abroad. They've decided for some reason they're going on a cycling holiday. And it's in France. Hey, they're abroad. Hey, Bayek. Yes, that's how it is. And after certain events happen, Kathy disappears. And that's how the story starts to get going. What has happened? Where is Kathy? And then we get loads of sort of atmosphere and red herrings and wonderful things. What another bit I like, actually, the dialogue is in French in certain places with the French people, and there's no subtitles, so you don't know what they're saying, which adds as if you're part of those girls wondering what they're actually saying, which just adds a little bit more atmosphere. They haven't put any subtitles in. I just think that's an interesting change, you know. I really like that. I just thought it added to that a feeling of being abroad. Yeah. And yeah, it's another part as the story develops. What I like about this is it keeps you guessing. You're never quite sure about things, and I like that. There's an inevitable big reveal right at the end, but is it inevitable? I've said inevitable, but you don't. That's what I like about it. You're thinking, surely this, surely that, and it's great, and that's all atmosphere. And there are these scenes which are quite, it's not a graphic kind of horror film at all. It's not like, blood and guts and gore. But that's the point. There's a lot of atmosphere, which is quite horrific. And actually what this has happened is quite horrific. We learn about things that have happened. There is an horrific side to it, and that is part of the atmosphere. And this is what adds to the horror of the film. The film has a lot of interesting parts to it. It is like the peril of going abroad, if you want to say. It's put into these kind of fears that sort of were prevalent, perhaps in British cinema, even in Britain itself at that period of time. But yeah, they still continue. And another interesting thing is, you could say this story you could still have today in a different different settings, but the same basic story. The girl in peril, that kind of story still goes. In fact, this was remade as well. I think about 2010, something like that. There was a remake, but set in a different, not a direct remake, but set in a different country. I think it's South America or something like that. But it's a universal story, kind of. I say it still goes on. I mean, look, you can even work it right through, as they said, to the Hostel movies. That fear, that distrust as well in Eastern Europe. It's all there. So you just need to look at the patterns and the history of cinema. I think this film just brings out so much of all these distrust of authority. Who do you trust? It's all here. It's all in this film. This film would, I think, in some areas now be seen almost, it's got sort of that art cinema even elevation in there. Yes, the arty cinema. Even, you could say, it has some of the themes in that are there. They're there. They may be hidden, but they're not. They come out. I mean, even the landscape, just looking the way it's filmed, this endless empty landscape, that becomes part of the film as well. There's that unease, the alienation that you're abroad. So I mean, the direction is this brilliantly put together scenes in the film, and they add so much. And you know, I can't talk about it more. I say there's the Hitchcock influence, obviously there, and there's so many wonderful things about this film. I mean, I could just go on talking about it. It's such an easy, amazing. It's an amazing piece of film. It really is. And I think you should, if you've not seen it, try and have a look at it. Try and watch it. It's well worth it. Now, this had a DVD release in 2008. And then we've got this one, which is a Studio Canal release in 2019. So I'll just give you another quick look at it. There's the slip cover, of course. You're slip cover fans. There's the back. There is some nice extras. The interview with Kim Newman is absolutely brilliant. It's so spot on. It's amazing. And then this, I'll just open it up. It's the same as on the slip cover, all the same. Then we've got here, there. So I've got Phil's note there. I put in there. Then I say we've got the disc with it's a wonderful. Just I love to see a disc like this with the illustration on there. Fantastic. Yeah. Great disc. Absolutely highly recommended. That's it. So, all I've got to say is, if you're interested in the videos and want to know, more that we try and do on this channel, then please subscribe, and we'll let you know when I produce them. Also, if you like it, please give it a like so more people know. And I'm always sounding evangelical. I love people to know about these films. You don't hear enough people knowing about these films, and let's get it all out there as well. We can still love a lot of the mainstream modern films, which is great, which I love as well. But yeah, it's good to know these films. So please give it a like, and all this costs note. Also, if you've got any comments, please give us some comments. I don't know. I'll always answer any comments that you make, and it's good. I like that. I enjoy that. That's it, really. So all I've got to say is, I'll City again.